Hi, I'm Sharon Spangler. Welcome to this Council Connection. We're here at the first floor of Reno City Hall, and my guests are Councilmember Dan Gustin and Alex Woodley, who runs the Code Enforcement Division for the City of Reno. And we've got an interesting subject to talk about, and Alex has even brought some props. And first of all, Dan, I understand that you were the one that prompted code enforcement to go out, and I'm sure lots of you have seen telephone poles that have just been covered with all kinds of flyers, and you are the one that prompted these guys to go out and get rid of a lot of them on California Avenue.
Well, at least I gave them the information. You know, the great thing about the City of Reno, we have Reno Direct and we have code enforcement, and you can call Reno Direct, put in a request, they will get back to you. And that's how this all started. It started actually walking around the neighborhood. I was walking around the neighborhood of California and Arlington, and then I got a couple calls from neighbors saying, why are there so many bills posted to the poles these days? And it seems like we had a proliferation of these in the last, 3 or 4 months or so. So I was out walking, and I noticed a lot of them on the ground. And then I looked at the poles, and you see all the staples that are left in the poles, and you know, it's kind of been something that people have put up with for a period of time, but where they were informational, but I think it had gone too far. So I asked Alex and the people in code enforcement to take a look at this and look at our codes, and he did so, and we've made strides, some significant strides, because I think some of the people posting these bills were unaware that there was a code against them, first of all, and then secondly, that once they were up, nobody came back and took care of them. Nobody policed the issue. I think if they'd have policed the issue and taken them down and taken the staples out, you probably wouldn't have had the reaction that I had and others who called me had.
I know there were some that have been up there since before Christmas, because I saw a few of the ones that you had in your office. So Alex, tell me about what happened. You sent a group out, and how long did it take you to get them all down?
Well, what we did was after I received the contact from Councilmember Gustin, I went out there and took a little drive myself, and I was amazed. I was surprised. I had no idea that it was that many. In years past, we've had lost puppies garage sales, which go up and then come right back down. But it seemed, unfortunately, that maybe due to economic times, that a lot of businesses decided to use it as their free advertising. So what I did was we had our weekly staff meeting, which is approximately 2 hours, and we met in the meeting, and I told my staff that instead of having the meeting, that we would all go out and spend the 2 hours pulling down signs just in the downtown area. Well, the 2 hours turned into 4 hours, and we went in teams of 2. The good thing about us going out there was that we had the ability to identify the businesses. As a matter of fact, we actually found some businesses that were advertising things that they shouldn't have been doing, like the need for a cabaret license if they have a club sort of atmosphere. So we were able to find certain individuals that we identified and said, hey, these guys shouldn't be having any dance floors or any kind of live entertainment. So unfortunately for them, they just brought us to their doorstep. So, but what we have done is we created a courtesy letter, and we sent it out to approximately 30 businesses, putting them on notice that if we do find these signs on the poles again, or any fixture in the public right-of-way, that we will pursue a citation process.
Interesting. I know that you pulled off almost 1,000 of them, and within a day they were already going back up again.
That's true.
Again.
Is all our fines, they start at 100. The subsequent is 250, then 500, and since it's commercial business, it goes up to $1,000 per incident.
Wow.
So,
You know, we're not trying to be punitive, but you've heard council members, and certainly I'm one of them, that's talked about beautification, you know, living in a nice area, and it doesn't mean just red brick buildings downtown or new facades on buildings. It's also in the neighborhoods, and this is a form of blight, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
And the couple of people that called me, and we do have codes to protect the neighborhoods, and I think it's important we do that. I understand that people want to get their message out, and as you look through them, they're all different. And sometimes, I think Alex will verify this, that sometimes you look at the businesses that's being advertised and it's not their doing. It's a promoter who's promoting an event at their location that's putting these handbills up. And I noticed that I've gotten a couple of emails from people who are listed on these posters saying, look, we're going to tell people now they can't do this. This is illegal. And we will try to handle it from our end, but we understand what you're doing. So again, we're not trying to be punitive on it, but we're trying to keep, you know, Reno as a pretty city and not a blighted city. And we talk about old buildings, and I know Alex and his crew go, we see tires and trees and overgrowth, but this is part of it. And if you look at the poles, which I know your crew did, and the amount of staples, there's
Oh my
hundreds of
gosh, it's
staples.
unbelievable.
And the degradation of those poles, it can be a lot quicker.
Well, what I don't get is that there's so many other alternatives, and it takes time to go out there and staple on the telephone poles. A lot of businesses, I know on California Avenue and downtown, they allow people to put posters in their businesses. Nowadays, you've got Facebook and Twitter and so many websites. I mean, there's so many other alternatives, and I understand you got some pretty good feedback from the manager of the knitting factory when you gave him a call and said,
Yes,
the knitting factory logos on a lot of these.
Definitely, he was very cooperative, the representative for the knitting factory. As a matter of fact, several other businesses as well, they were cooperative, and we even had their promoters call us because they would contact their promoters, and they called us as well. Pretty much all of them that have responded have said we weren't aware, which is, as the council member Gustin stated, a lot of his education, and that's why we're giving out the courtesy letters. And they've promised us that they will make sure to curb that and to stop it. Our intent is definitely not to try to hurt any businesses, but like you said, there's a lot of other avenues of approach that they can use to get the word out. A lot of people are using internet, Facebook, etc. Our hope is to educate them and work with them. And just to make it clear, the reason why we would still go after the business owner as opposed to the promoter is because the advertising on the flyers themselves is for that business.
Right.
So whether they may want to separate themselves from the activity, the fact of the matter is that they do benefit from it as far as getting that advertisement out there. So we make it a point to let them know that, and they understand that point of view. And the feedback we've received thus far has been very positive.
That's great.
And I'd like to amplify this. This happened to be in my ward, in Old Southwest Reno in Ward 1. But if people that are watching this show have this kind of thing in their neighborhood, no matter where it is go to the city of Reno, then online, and then go to Reno Direct. Let them know, and our code enforcement people will get around to taking care of it. I can't say they'll do it the next day, but as Alec and his crew went out, spent 4 hours doing this, but it's a priority for us. So it's a kind of blight, as I mentioned before. Beautification is not only fixing up downtown. We talked about the neighborhoods are every bit as important, and these kind of things have to stop.
Good point. And I also noticed that when you're down on First Street, there's actually a big enclosed unit that people can actually have signs put into. Is there any appetite to do something like that, maybe in some other areas of town where people can promote their events? I know California Avenue is a really popular spot for people putting flyers out there.
Well, I know that many businesses offer something like that, a billboard such as that. It would definitely have to be on private property. It wouldn't be able to be on public property. We have 3 sections of the code that prohibits that activity on city property. And you can imagine the kind of issues we would have if one business wants to advertise in another, so on and so forth, So, but one thing I did want to point out, because we did get a lot of feedback on the internet, in Reno Gazette Journal, on the blogs, and one of the concerns from the citizens, which is understandable, is the issue of the cost of having code officers going out there and address it. And the city does understand that, and we do take that into consideration. Future reference, code officer Cindy Gil Blanco, she was the head code officer on this issue. She is getting in contact with the sheriff's crew to see if we can get some
Great
individuals.
idea, the work crew,
Exactly,
which is
work
free,
crews.
actually.
Exactly, and in the public right-of-way, so she is making that a contact. However, whenever we deal with a situation where we do have to cite a citation, a code officer does need to be there to see it, observe it, take a picture of it, and then pursue it. But if we have, like what we had that day, an influx, if we have 300 within a neighborhood, in a situation like that, we'll definitely use a work crew to make sure we're not using salaried employees to pull down signs.
This is the first time you've ever done this, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So it was kind of like, we've got to do something. Let's get out there and do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, the proliferation, as I said before, that people did it on a semi-irregular basis, if you will, like putting up a lost dog, and those
Sure.
things were tolerable. But now this is really an advertising medium, and they've almost developed their own medium, put them on poles and in the public right of way, and that's not allowed by code. And I'm glad to see that our code enforcement people are taking all avenues to save money. We always talk about saving money, and that's a great way. The sheriff and the crew going out to help you guys out, that's wonderful.
And my last note is I feel sorry for those guys that work for NV Energy that have to go up those telephone poles. I mean, you go by and I mean, there's staples everywhere. That's got to be horrible.
It is. It is. It took us a long time to take down some of the signs because there was like 100 staples on the sign. So it was.
It's crazy. A little out of control.
Yeah, but we hope that now everybody understands, and I know some of the promoters probably this free source of advertising, they're going to be a little disappointed about it, but you know, it's for the public good and it's in the public right away, and it's just something that shouldn't be done.
Great. Want to thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Want to thank you, Alex, for being with us. Very good work. Good job. And thank you all for joining us on this Council Connection.